Okay, 71 is a solving equation problem, and it says find all the solutions between 0 and 2 pi. Now, first of all, I know it's tempting, we talked about this a little bit last time, to like distribute this cosine, but cosine's not a number and cosine's not a variable. You can't distribute it. It's a function of this stuff, so no distributing. But what you can do is you can say this stuff can be thrown into my new formula. You can say this stuff can be thrown into a formula. Okay, we've got equals 1. We'll deal with later. And then the easiest mistake to make, and hopefully this addresses your question here, but this is what I almost did last week too, is this is minus, but it's minus all of this in red. Right? It's minus this whole thing. So when you split it apart with the fraction, you need to make sure you put it in parentheses or distribute. Minus all of the stuff in red. Minus all of the stuff in red. So these equation solving ones look to be getting out of hand pretty quickly, but cosine x, cosine pi over 4, minus cosine x, cosine pi over 4, those would cancel and go to 0. This would be a negative 1 sine x sine pi over 4, and this is a, when you distribute, a negative 1 sine x sine of pi over 4, which gives us negative 2 sine x sine of pi over 4. So really, just going from this step to this step, I'm combining like terms. Okay, the rest of it you can do in a bunch of different orders, so it's kind of just whatever you prefer. But at some point, you're going to need to say, I know this from the unit circle, whether you do that now or in a step or two, that's your choice. But you got to do it at some point. At some point, you got to reduce times 2 divided by 2. At some point, you've got to undo timesing by negative square root of 2 by dividing by negative square root of 2. And before this looks familiar, you need to probably rationalize it. Multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 2. So that means my answers come from when sine is negative square root of 2 over 2. And since I'm supposed to be given answers between 0 and 2 pi, now it's just knowing the unit circle. Going all the way around, there's only 2 places where sine is that value. 5 pi over 4 and 7 pi over 4. Now, you can check these. So not everything we did in this section is checkable with the calculator. A lot of times it's easier to just plug it in and do it in your head than with the calculator, but I'll show you how you could do the store button again, because that's really useful here. If your calculator's in radians, and you think 5 pi over 4 is a solution, store that in as x, just hit this little store button, and then type in the original question. And hit enter. It's supposed to equal 1, so that confirmed to me that 5 pi over 4 is the correct solution. The other thing that I thought worked was 7 pi over 4. So you could store that. And I don't know if you guys know this calculator trick, but it's very helpful. Instead of typing all this stuff in again, because you can see that took me a minute, if you just hit second enter, it pulls up the last thing you typed in. And if you hit second enter again, it pulls up the thing before that, and you can just keep spamming second enter, second enter, second enter. So 7 pi over 4 also gives you 1. So that confirms both of my answers are right. So since those are longer questions and more places to make a mistake, that's especially nice to check our work. Okay. Any more specific question in there? Is that okay?
Yeah.